Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the El Toro's podcast, exclusively now on Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here, let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on things like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast, which is always a plus, with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast right at your fingertips and in one place. I can't believe it took me this long to switch over to Anchor.fm, but I couldn't be happier now. So, get yourself started and download the free Anchor app now, or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome everyone to episode 41 of the Capital Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. Catch you every Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon on YouTube. Just go search Capital Wrestling. Also go to soundcloud.com/ElTorsPodcast. We're also available on iTunes, and you can just search us there with El Tors Podcast as well. Go on Twitter at Capital Wrestling without the G. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Neutron. Search for us on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to sponsor a match, if you want a talent looking to get on the shows, any other business inquiries, go to capitalwrestling@gmail.com. Right now, you can go to brownpapertickets.com, search Capital Wrestling Presents World War IV, and also go to tinyurl.com/capitalwrestlingww4. And every Monday night, we're live on Twitch at 7:05. Just go to twitch.tv/capitalwrestling and gfqlive.tv. You want to get some merchandise, hats, hoodies, baby onesies, t-shirts. We got Bastards t-shirts, Rotunda Capital Tees. Go to whatamaneuver.net and prowrestlingtees.com, and now amazon.com. And lastly, we have on Groupon.com. There's a nice 2 for $20 deal. Go check that out, and there's great value there and a stacked card. Now, we've been running down all the matches every week up until this card, and a little bit later on, we're going to talk to the Capital Wrestling champion, Ken Dixon, and he's going to bring his history of violence to the Capital Wrestling podcast. But we're going to bring back a returning guest. You might know him as the leader of the Apostles of Chaos and the King of Chaos. He's none other than Logan Black. What's up, Logan?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing great, man. How have you been?
I've been doing all right. Just getting myself prepared for this Paqui Chip Deathmatch going on the 29th. So quite a bit of preparation that goes into that. A lot of hot wing eating, a lot of eating Indian food. I'm probably going to show up to this match super bloated, but I'm not too worried.
Is this also going to be known as the Tums on a Ladder match? You're just going to have to climb up there and get the Tums?
Apparently. I mean, I'm not planning on losing this one, so I think Jeff needs to be doing more of the preparation. But knowing him, he's already well into chewing on Carolina Reapers at this point.
And we're going to delve into that just a little bit later on. That's going to be the main event of our conversation today. But, what have you been up to lately aside from preparing? Any matches as of late?
Oh, man, there's matches every weekend. I just made my way back over to Excellence Pro Wrestling in Pennsylvania, an excellent crew over there, Blitzkrieg Pro. The killer, ridiculous main event of Jimmy Jacobs and Joey Janela. Wrestling all the time. Warriors of Wrestling, my home promotion, just had our 10-year anniversary weekend, Friday and Saturday. It's been, honestly, 2017 has been a really great year for me in terms of wrestling, and I'm hoping to translate that into nothing but success for 2018 as we move forward.
What were some of your goals in 2017, and do you have any left that you haven't checked off?
I don't often set goals for myself. I would say my goals for 2017 were just to kind of build myself out stronger than I was, and I feel like I've done that. I don't think I spent many weekends at all this year doing nothing. Mm-hmm. I've been wrestling nonstop. 2018, I think, is the first year that I've really set major goals. I need to do this year, and those goals are just putting my passport to use more. Getting myself overseas to the UK, to Japan. Those are the real goals that I'm seriously looking for.
Who are some of the opponents you'd like to face if you were to get invited overseas somewhere?
Oh man, I mean honestly, there's way too much to go. I mean, literally anybody, honestly, anybody in Japan, anybody in the UK, anybody in Mexico who can go out there and try and test my jaw. Let's go for it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at somebody to bring the absolute best out of me. So, all comers.
I mean, speaking of bringing the absolute best out of you, I remember watching about a month ago or so, you had that really physical matchup versus Jason Karloff.
Oh, yeah. Warriors of Wrestling. That is a favorite of mine. Me and Karloff beat the ever-loving piss out of each other all over the place. I'm still trying to shake off some of those bumps.
What was the worst bump you took that night?
Well, getting choked, not choked, spine bustered into a barbed wire chair doesn't ever feel good. So that kind of stuck. I lost hearing for like a day or so, which, I mean, in hindsight isn't that bad. It just really sucked when it happened. Getting hit over across the side of the head with a garbage can lid. What else? Yeah, those were particularly terrible. Particularly awful in general. I also think, trying to toss him with a Death Valley driver off the top rope into a legitimate bed of chairs. I mean, certainly he got the brunt of that, but, it's not exactly fun to kind of fall with that weight on you and try and put him through chairs.
Is that one of those things where you did you go to the hospital afterwards, or you kind of just heal up by yourself?
I was lucky enough to not need serious medical attention, although I went to the back, got checked on by the EMTs and everybody that was backstage, doctor and all that. I have been, a couple months back in a cage match, I was severely concussed, where I kind of didn't really remember how I got from the ring to the back.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to, talk to the commissioner. I didn't know this until I was told it afterwards, but I'm sitting there like, hey man, did you enjoy the match? I enjoyed the show. All right, cool, it's good seeing you. And I did that like 4 or 5 times without realizing it. And the EMTs kind of pulled me out to the truck and were like, you wouldn't shut up to the commissioner. And it kind of looked really bad. So we're keeping you out here.
So how long did it take you to recover from that one?
I was back at work on Monday because I didn't really have a choice. It's kind of, how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But, in general, I think I was wrestling again the next weekend because I'm more than anything, I'm stupid. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody else. But it really is just me being stupid and kind of just making poor decisions with my body while at the same time recognizing that I do it because I love wrestling that much and, can't bear to spend a weekend without it.
Yeah, and all the admiration and respect for that. I've heard of people getting concussions before and they get their first and only concussion and whatever they're doing, whether it's football or something else, they, kind of quit it or whatever it is, but more power to you for powering through that and coming back, stronger on the other side.
Yeah, certainly. Strong. I don't know about stronger, but certainly coming back.
Now, I guess let's see here. Recently, actually, a few weeks ago, Capital Wrestling debuted the brand new Sapphire Television Championship. Have you seen that belt?
I actually did. It's certainly an interesting looking title.
It is. The sponsor is actually a gentleman's club in Manhattan. What are your thoughts on the title in general, and it being bestowed upon Mike Law at the next taping?
Well, for me, I'll start with that. Mike Law is somebody that I think deserves a ton of adoration from pretty much anybody involved in wrestling, any fan of wrestling. Mike Law is somebody that I've championed for I can't tell you how long. Insanely talented and ridiculously underrated. So him getting any type of title, any type of recognition is always going to be cool in my book. In terms of the title itself being sponsored by a gentleman's club, I think that is certainly a first for wrestling. I can't think of any other position where that has ever been the case. Interesting enough note, the King of Chaos has never been to a gentleman's club. Never quite had the interest of going to one. So I certainly think that it's interesting that world is being brought into professional wrestling. So who knows if I'm not going to gentleman's club, but maybe the gentleman's club will come to me with this edition of the title.
I'm not going to lie. When I first heard about the name of the title, I thought, are we going to have a women's division? What's going on here?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much walking away from a women's edition when we're getting sponsored by a titty bar.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say so. But also in 2017, we touched on goals and whatnot. Is there anything like any lessons you've taken away from this year? Anything you really have specifically involved in?
So I think this year the lesson that I've gotten more than anything is, I'm generally not somebody that likes to push any kind of negativity or anything like that, but this has been a kind of weird, certainly a positive year, and I've grown, and I've worked so many other places, and I've met so many great people. But in terms of just wrestling in general, kind of recognizing, don't count your chickens before you're hatched. Never believe anything until it's over.
Yeah.
And recognize just how unimportant, you are in the grand scheme of things. What I mean by that is more the idea of if, all of this could be done in seconds. Like literally that one wrong bump, and I'm out for 6 months. The one poor mistake that could be made, and nobody wants to be associated with me. So to recognize just how finite you are in the independent wrestling world, and celebrate it. Don't fall on that and be like, celebrate the fact that I guess that it fits the name. It is chaotic. You know what I mean? Anything can go just at any moment. What are you going to do to make yourself stand out? What are you going to do to make yourself memorable? And I think those are lessons that I took this year, and certainly something that I'm going to be bringing into 2018.
There we go. And then, the holiday season as well. So at the last show, Ken Dixon was named the Capital Wrestling Champion by Matthew Ryan Shapiro. What are your thoughts on that?
I've got a couple of mixed feelings about that, to be honest. I think, my initial reaction is, were you going to hand belts out? All right, there are people that strive and, work really hard to, achieve a goal of, being the guy that a company puts the stock in. So if you can kind of just buy that kind of thing, what does it matter? But at the same time, it's a guy like Ken Dixon who, can certainly back up legitimately anything that Capital Wrestling has put behind him, could certainly back up anything that he himself could put behind. So I think if there's anybody that's going to be handed something, he's certainly somebody that could back that up and, be a guy who's, an ambassador for that title and actually make it mean something.
Yeah, I remember talking to Preston Quinn last week, or now the Master of Excellence, with his match with Wildman Congo. He said that his thinking behind it was that if you're going to get a title, you want to be able to remember, the pain and suffering and the triumph that you went through to get that belt.
Right. I think that if we're going to go by that theory, I think Ken is going to be somebody who builds all of that as the champion, not necessarily before getting it.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I heard of people in the Capital fan base and other, in the Capital universe talk about that they want to see a tournament, a fatal four-way, any sort of match to determine it. I felt that would have been a great idea, honestly, because there's so many, talented guys on the roster, such as yourself and many others, and there's just so many to choose from that you could have put a compelling match forward.
Oh, certainly, but I also think that this kind of idea puts things together where you have a lot of people now vying for that title. You've got, Ken's got a target on his back.
Yeah.
So how does he handle that? Does he crumble under the pressure? Does he, take on everybody and soundly defeat them? That's something to be seen. At this point where I'm at in Capital Wrestling, I've got enough things to worry about. I had to, slap around like an 8-foot tall jackass for the last show. And now I got to worry about, beating on Jeff Cannonball and making him, choke down a Carolina Reaper chip. So that's where my focus is at the moment.
Now,
it's not necessarily on titles.
For Christmas, you want a win over Jeff Cannonball, but at the same time, aside from that, what would you like for Christmas?
Oh man, dude, I'm a minimalist, man. I don't ask for much. I don't look for much. I'm kind of just happy with what I've gotten, what I've earned. But if I have to pick something specifically that I would want, man, it would honestly just be to be able to achieve those goals that I gave you for 2018. Is just kind of continue to be successful. Put my passport to use for wrestling. I'd love to, as a Christmas gift, have be gifted with the idea of, hey, I've got a string of shows for you in this area you've never worked. Hey, the West Coast is looking, for, Mohawk brawlers who are going to fucking bleed all over the place. So let's roll with it. Let's have some fun. So that would be a lovely gift for me. Somebody going like, hey, all these stupid bumps you're taking are paying off.
Exactly, man. That would be great to see. And in the same vein, what about New Year's resolutions? Any like bad habits you're looking to get rid of?
Wow. Good question. Honestly, I think my New Year's resolution might just be to stick to a diet for more than 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I've honestly, I think it's very evident. I've never been a guy who's, I certainly am in the gym. I've got, my Instagram will show you that. I've, power lifted for quite a few years. But I think, in trying to move myself, from being just a guy who can, squat, 4 and change, I'd much rather be a guy who can squat 4 and change, and also wrestle for 45 minutes in a hell of a match against, guys like McIntosh or Gangone who can go out there and do that without even thinking twice.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be that level of versatile, and I think, keeping things in check, keeping diet in check, keeping, my work in check, keeping my training for wrestling in check, will certainly help out.
And that's just more of a testament to the Capital roster of how sharp you have to stay at all times to be, at the top.
Oh, certainly.
Now, in the last October, you had a match against Juba, and it actually started out before the bell even rang for quite some time. Where did he find you? You're just in the back somewhere hanging out, and then all of a sudden he just starts beating on you?
Yeah, I was, grabbing for my jacket I didn't get to. And I just feel these, frying pan-like hands grab at my neck and throw me into a wall and then through a door. So, it's like, all right, I guess we're going. I don't need my jacket at this point. So that was that.
And so, it was a very physical match.
Honestly, that's, you go see a Logan Black match, that's what you're going to get. I don't think I have matches that are anything but, really physical. It's just kind of, I guess, I go out there, that's my style. I like to hit hard, I like to get hit hard, I like, bring the fight out of me as best as you possibly can. And, Juba's someone who can do that. He's a big, giant dude who does not, he doesn't take crap from anybody. So if you're going to go in there, you better be prepared to, get hit just about as hard as, you're trying to hit him. And not even get much of a reaction out of it, because that is a big boy. But I think, in terms of physicality, in terms of, what we were trying to, both individually put out there, I think the job was done. I think Capital Wrestling now knows, what Juba's about. Capital Wrestling is well aware of what I'm about. And like you said, very physical, and that's my style. So I don't think there's anybody on the roster that's going to be able to duplicate, the kind of physicality that I bring to the ring. Not just that match, but in every match that I go.
Yeah, there were a few things that stood out to me with that match, and the one was that scoop slam with the chair onto the floor. That looked pretty brutal. Oh
yeah, that wasn't fun.
And then and then at one point he moved and you punched the ring post. I was like, what?
Yeah, that wasn't fun either. Again, I poor decisions with my body on a weekly basis, but it's I guess it's part of it makes me unique.
Was
in that regard?
Any injuries to your hand?
I've got tons of injuries to my hand. My hand was swollen for the remaining, I'd say, was it 3 days after that?
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, again, swelling of that. Back just being in pain in general. I had, I think my elbow and my head were, I had a bump on my head from when he threw me into the stage, because, there's no give to a stage.
Yeah.
So, just, fun times.
Now, I will say, to your credit, you have a very broad back. Does that help with the weight disbursement and the pain?
No, it hurts really bad. There's nothing positive. Skinny back, big back. It just sucks, no matter how you do it. But again, I think years of getting kicked and punched in the pits at hardcore shows has prepared me for this kind of thing.
Now, did that match? Did you earn a new kind of respect for Juba after that match, or?
Well, it's hard to say, because Juba's somebody that I respected before that, because again, he's tough as nails, and there's no denying that he's tough as nails. But I think Juba had no choice but to gain a respect for me in that match, because no matter what he did to me, throwing me against, like kind of windmilling me against the stage, or me busting my hand on the post, or the body slam, or literally everything that he did to me, I just kept coming back at it.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything that was able to stop. So he really didn't have a choice but to, learn to respect me and what I'm doing, and the fact that, I'm not backing down from anybody, no matter how big, no matter how strong, no matter, what he's going to end up doing to me, no matter what he's got on his head, to drop me and do, craziness like that. But, yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. The respect that I had for him was already there, but I'm fairly certain he's got it for me now.
And then Jeff Cannonball obviously came out of nowhere and made his presence felt. What do you think about his return during that match? And now that sets up your Paqui Chip Deathmatch coming up on December 29th.
Honestly, personally, here's my views on that kind of thing. He fucking knows where it didn't belong, which, whatever. It's not like it's something that I wouldn't have done, so it's hard for me to really get upset with people when they do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think Cannonball is looking to kind of make an impact at my expense, and it's not something that I'm cool with. And I think this Paqui Chip Deathmatch, truth be told, I don't think you or anybody's going to deny it. It certainly favors him, considering that, Jeff has the Flaming Table, which is his show. It's his online show where he eats spicy things. Anyone who knows Jeff knows that he's a big fan of spicy stuff.
Yeah.
So this is right up his alley. I'm sure that he's looking at this, win, lose, or draw, like he's getting a free chip out of it. But I've got something to prove, and I think I proved it against Juba when I beat the piss out of a giant, and I'm gonna do the same thing when it comes to Cannonball. I'm not looking to, my focus is not necessarily on what the end result of that match is going to be. If I gotta, I don't plan to. I plan to watch Jeff eat that, and I plan to watch him squirm, and I plan to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
My plan in that match is I have to do whatever it takes to win that match. It is not about the reward. It's not about the end of the match. It's about proving to Capital Wrestling that I'm not, a guy just to throw around in gimmick matches. I'm the guy that should be at the top of the card, regardless of who's there, whether it's against Ken Dixon or a Gangone or a Mike Law, whoever they've got. That's the position I deserve to be in. I'm not someone who can just go out there and absorb punishment. I'm not someone who can just go out there and give an insane amount of punishment. But if you put me in there against a technical wrestler or a high flyer, I'm going to play to their strengths, and I'm also going to expose their weaknesses at every turn. That's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm looking to show in this match.
Now, you mentioned the Flaming Table. For all the fans who aren't aware of that show, it's on Jeff's YouTube channel. Go check it out. Really fun show to watch with all the spicy foods and some of the reactions of some of the guys he has on there. And then I think at one point they had Maria Manic and his girlfriend Tara Calloway, and they were passed out on the bathroom floor after that because they were just so done with it. So I don't like spicy foods myself, so I would absolutely die. And I told him that a few weeks ago when he came on the podcast. What is your affinity for spicy foods? Do you have one?
I do, actually. There is a lovely Indian restaurant near where I live in Astoria, Queens, that I particularly go to because I can tell the person taking my order or the chef personally, I want you to hurt me. And they understand what I mean. And that guy will make the most ridiculous spicy chicken vindaloo that you can find, to the point where I've hallucinated eating this food. That's how spicy it gets. I love spicy food. I enjoy the hell out of it. At my age, my stomach is not quite responding as well to it, because I used to be able to eat that stuff like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So I think, certainly I wouldn't appreciate, my body rather wouldn't appreciate the Paqui Chip. But I think I certainly feel like I could handle it. I say this, of course, not having a clue how extreme that thing is.
Well, just to give you a little preview of what I've been described to by a few, like, obviously I talked to Jeff and he told me he enjoys spicy foods, but to him it was still something extreme. John Kermon did it on his Instagram, and when you watch the video, you think, okay, he's really not, he's no selling it, there's no reaction. But then he told me he got a little bit nauseous, he got a little bit woozy himself, and so he was like, I definitely wasn't gonna have a second one. So just to prepare you mentally for what could possibly expect, I guess why every reason you're going to bust your ass not to have to eat that damn chip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm well aware that there's a reason that it is one chip. There's a reason why people are not, entirely, cool with this kind of thing. There's a reason why there's like 1 billion views on YouTube of people taking this one chip challenge.
And
at the same time, I am fully prepared to, kick, bite, and scratch my way into not having to deal with that. Again, we've seen what I'm capable of when it comes to, beating up somebody who, is putting the fight to me like Juba did. And we've seen what Cannonball is capable of in terms of, taking John Kermon outside, breaking car windows and things like that. So I think you've got the mix of two people who, understand what's on the line, understand the consequences, but also at the same time are, even without consequence or anything, are willing to absolutely cripple each other just for it. Now, with the chip on the line, like let's turn the volume up,
I think symbolically, if you were to win the match, you should take the chip and put it on his shoulder. Or your shoulder.
I think that would make quite a bit of sense. I've been accused of having a chip on my shoulder before, so I think that makes quite a bit of sense.
But it's definitely one hell of a card. It's pretty loaded. Are there any other matches that catch your eye?
There's quite a bit going. Honestly, I'm super interested to see what in terms of, we talked about Mike Love getting that championship. I'm super interested to see how that ends up going.
He'll be also be in that 5-way dance.
Right, so that I think I was going to mention next was the fact that that 5-way with who else is in there? I know Gangone is in there.
LSG,
is there.
LSG, Gangone, McIntosh, and Ryan Zane. Really good Ryan Zane.
Yeah, I think I'm super excited to see LSG. That guy is like an insane level of talented. So to add him to the mix of all those guys who are just ridiculously good, just to kind of see how that works, should be great. I think that match certainly has potential to steal the show, although I am going to be, legitimately breaking my body to ensure that I am the person to steal it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a healthy competition going on between, in my opinion, that match and, what I'll be doing. I'm sure everybody's going to be doing what they need to do, but I think in terms of potential, keep your eyes on those.
And also, later in the show, we're going to have the champion, Ken Dixon, on here, and he'll be facing John Kermon to defend that title on December 29th.
That's going to be a fight. I mean, Kermon doesn't, Kermon doesn't screw around.
Mm.
That guy, if you want to kick you and break something, he's going to do that. So that should be interesting to see, how Ken Dixon kind of, combat that.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, especially a guy who was in the first ever Capital Combat match versus Cannonball. And they had a trio of matches, so I'm sure you can have all the footage at your disposal to, kind of see how you want to strategize with Jeff.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, I know on your Facebook sometimes you do box openings. Have you done any lately, and are you going to do any in the future?
I only do them when I get stuff from American Villain, who's my clothing sponsor. They take good care of me. But I have not asked for anything nor gotten anything in quite some time since the last one. Because again, I'm a minimalist. I don't necessarily ask for much. Maybe I should ask for more. Try and do more of these things. But personally, I don't. I think that one was super cool for me because it was just cool to kind of get that brand out there to other people. Legitimately, what American Villain is, they're just their tattoo shop from Rochester, New York, that decided, hey, we're going to start making some cool T-shirts and some cool, other types of merchandise. And it was cool stuff. And again, like using me as somebody who, could wear that stuff everywhere and kind of build that brand up for them.
Yeah.
I think it was just super cool. So that meant a lot to me to get that. But again, I'm not someone who jumps in on that kind of thing super often. Now,
did you kind of fall into that deal by, getting tattoos at that place?
I did actually. I got it through a wrestler. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Rochester area. by the name of Mark House.
Oh, Mark, yeah.
Of mine. Yeah, really good dude. He's since stepped away from the ring. But he's from Rochester, and he was coming around. He had this really awesome shirt that unfortunately they don't print anymore. I think they'd make a killing printing, which it was American Villain. It had like all the old school 80s heels. You know, Jake Roberts, Rick Rude, all those kind of guys. And I was like, that's the coolest shirt I've ever seen. He goes, it's American Villain. And he got enough in touch, and, you know, the rest is history.
Yeah, like you said, he recently stepped away, so all the respect in the world to Mark. He definitely had a hell of a career.
Yeah, no, Mark House is one of those, again, unsung, super, super underrated dudes that I do hope, you know, gets the bug to wrestle once again, and I hope he gets it really soon. Have you
ever been able to, been lucky enough to step in the ring with him?
I have not, actually. Unfortunately, every time that him and I have been anywhere together, it has always been, you know, just sharing a locker room and not necessarily against each other. We'd always talked about trying to get in, and, you know, get some work, but it just never worked out that way. And like I said, that's why I'm genuinely hoping that he gets the bug once again to wrestle.
There you go. And you know, before we get out of here, any plugs and upcoming shows you'd like to merchandise?
Yeah, I got, you know, I'll say this. You know, keep your eye on everything that I'm doing in 2018. You know, January is already, you know, looking stacked up for me. You know, between you know, Warriors of Wrestling, Five Borough Wrestling, anywhere else that I'm at. Like I said, I've got some overseas stuff that I'm trying to work on at the moment. So keep an eye on that. New T-shirts, new everything coming from me. I just put out a brand new taxi driver mock-up T-shirt.
Oh, I saw that's pretty badass, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty. I absolutely love that one. All my punk rock fans out there, I've got, you know, patches now, back patches, smaller patches, but so you can decorate your punk rock vest. You know, because every one of them, we've all got them, don't we? You can decorate your vest with that stuff.
I have a sweater vest.
What happened?
I have a sweater vest.
Fantastic. I'm sure you can put a couple patches on that. Kind of be a trendsetter. Yeah, and just, I mean, keep up with me on social media. I'm King of Chaos NYC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So, you know, super easy. Just keep your eyes. And, you know, just keep supporting independent wrestling in general. I'd love for you to support me in what I do, but just, you know, supporting independent wrestling helps everybody out, and, you know, everybody out there is, you know, truly busting their ass. There's never been a better time in the history of this business, besides right now, for independent wrestling.
Yeah, no.
So keep supporting, keep showing love, keep doing what it is that, you know, keeps all of us passionate about it.
There we go, and it's great to hear from you as always, and we want to thank you for spending your time here at the Capital Wrestling Podcast.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Always. And once again, everyone, it's going to be December 29th at doors open at 7, bell times at 8. And Logan will be taking on Jeff Cannonball in the first ever Paqui Chip Deathmatch. So we're not sure totally what to expect, but we know it's going to be a classic. So, and it's going to be exciting. So look out for that. And right now, we're going to take a quick break before we get to talk to the Capital Wrestling Champion, Ken Dixon, on the other side. Stay tuned, folks. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 41 of the Capital Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. I'd like to thank Logan Black for coming on earlier and talking about the Paqui Chip Deathmatch versus Jeff Cannonball, upcoming at December 29th at World War IV. That's going to be a fun one between them, and I don't envy the loser of that match. I hate spicy food myself, so I can only imagine that I would literally die if I had to have one of those Paqui chips, you know, the one-chip challenge. So it's the go-home show for World War IV, and, you know, you save the best for last. And this guy, he's got the Wildcat Championship, he's got the PCW Championship, and as recently as October, he is the official Capital Wrestling Champion. And he brings his history of violence back to the Capital Wrestling Podcast. It's Ken Dixon. What's up, Ken?
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Capital Wrestling. Oh, and I can add the Vanguard Championship Wrestling Lux Memorial Cup. I don't know, it's some trophy for some dead guy, but I want it. It's the last one. That's how good I am.
So that's a tournament they do every year?
Not anymore. That was the last one, apparently.
Oh, okay.
I want it. I kicked the guy in his dick, and I want it.
Did it feel very fulfilling when you won the match or won that tournament?
Oh, yeah. I had to beat 3 other jabronis to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well worth it.
I mean, you've had quite a successful year in regards to accolades. You know, what else have you been up to lately?
Yeah, I'm just training hard, getting ready for World War IV, and just looking forward to an even bigger 2018. It's really cliche for everybody to say that this is my year, but I really feel that 2017 was my year. Got to really get on some new platforms with some different people, and you're going to see what Ken Dixon is all about on December 29th.
I mean, we've had on the show a few times, and I've got to see your progress, and we've talked about various subjects. So when you started in 2017, what were some of your goals, and are there any left that you have yet to accomplish?
I think some of the goals that I'd had were to be on the radar, some of the more bigger companies, and I think I've done small bits and pieces to help myself get there. But we just got to keep pushing. There's always room for more.
Is one of your goals in 2018, are you trying to do more, maybe international dates possibly?
I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of those things that's on the list. Just trying to figure out the hows and the who's, things like that.
I mean, if you had any choice of a country to wrestle in, where would you go?
I'd like to try my hand in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different.
What about that style intrigues you?
It's just a little more smash mouth. I'm not really into the acrobatic style. It seems to be a bit controversial. I appreciate it, but I'll leave it to the guys that can do it better than me. I like to hit people. I like to keep people on the ground and hurt them and get done quick. The sooner I get done, the sooner I get paid, and the sooner I can leave shitty little towns like Hoboken.
Yeah, it's a very efficient way to look at it and very business-like. Save that energy so you can keep winning more matches.
That's it.
Now, what's the biggest difference you've noticed in yourself over the course of the last year or so?
Looking back, I'd have to say my confidence in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Dixon, I really know who I am. I feel like I've found myself in the ring. I'm comfortable. Now that I'm comfortable, it's going to be a little bit harder for everybody else out there that wants a piece. It's a little harder to get some.
Yeah, I think a thing guys struggle with at times is trying to find that identity and what works for them, and I think you've really found it and you're really locked in.
I mean, it's always a work in progress. Don't let anybody tell you that they're 100% dialed in.
Yeah.
If they're 100% dialed in, then they're not trying anymore. So it's always a work in progress. I just feel like I'm getting to a level now where it's going to get a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've talked about those accolades, the Wildcat Championship, PCW, and Capital Wrestling Championship, and the Memorial Cup you mentioned just winning recently. What does all these accolades mean to you, and what does holding multiple belts also mean to you?
That just means that I'm the best that they've got right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Revolution champion in Wildcat Sports. So they're still a heavyweight champion. I'm one of the best that they have on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
And goes to Primal Conflict Wrestling. I am the top of the food chain in Primal Conflict Wrestling. I won that cup in Vanguard, which is based out of Norfolk. I'm the top of the food chain there. It's only a matter of time before I come for their heavyweight champion. What that means to me is those are all stepping stones.
Mm-hmm.
That means I'm coming after bigger people. I'm after bigger fish. I'm ready to take on anything that anybody is willing to throw at me. Whether it be John Kermon on the 29th, Eric Boyle in February, after I beat John Kermon, because I'm that confident. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Now, does being in all these promotions, facing these different types of competition, is that what makes you a better performer?
I believe so. I love working in front of different people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not a big fan of working in the Super Northeast, because I feel like I have to do everything but wrestle. One of these days, I'm going to have to pull a pistol out and shoot somebody. Because they're just not going to appreciate it.
Exactly. That's a good point. Some people are just too tough to please, and no matter what you do, you just can't. You gotta stick to your guns. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But you were named the Capital Champion on October 14th by Matthew Ryan Shapiro. Did that surprise you at all, or did you expect it when they announced it?
Well, I saw the polls going around on social media, and everybody thought that I should be named the champion, so I thought it was only fitting that I'm a people's champion, clearly, voted solely by the social media. And I read the little blurbs that you posted with Preston Quinn saying he was disgusted on how I got my hands on the championship.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? At the end of the day, there's still a W in my columns. I'm undefeated in Capital Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about him. He had to go put a mask on. I don't know if that's to cover his shame and embarrassment for being a loser.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I'm the champion. I've got the gold that he wants. And if he wants to be upset and Mr. Pouty Face about it, by hook or by crook, I'm the champion. He knows where to find me. I'm not hard to find.
So, Preston Quinn, or also known as the Master of Excellence, you would welcome his challenge?
Yeah, whatever.
So you don't think that the title fits him at all?
No, I mean, he's good at what he does. He wants to throw stones, and I think my man lives in a glass house. So that's that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. This is a big show for Capital Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I get to find out who I'm going to slap around in March, because I'm projecting dominant victories. Whoever walks out of that 5-way clusterfuck.
That's what it should be called. That'd be a great graphic.
Because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Those multi-man matches, wow, there's too much going on.
So when you're...
I just like to sit to the side and let those guys flip their little hearts out,
mm-hmm.
come right in, pop, going.
So pretty much you don't like multi-man matches yourself, you prefer like one-on-one or tag matches?
I mean, I like to fight, don't get me wrong, but when I have to share my spotlight with a couple of other guys,
yeah,
I'm not really a big fan of that. Kind of greedy in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Now, we also found out this past week on Capital Wrestling Television that Marcus Dowling wanted to name Sonny the champion before Matthew Ryan Shapiro paid more for the belt. What do you think about that?
Well, I beat Sonny, so, that wouldn't have been a good choice. He's been fighting from underneath since the inception. And like I said, I'm undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Good business.
Yeah, that is. I mean, you do hold that victory over him. That was back when it was at the Cathedral. So, I mean, there's really hard to argue that point.
If Dowling wants to make friends, Matt and I want to make money. That's how that goes.
And on the same subject as champions in Capital Wrestling, they recently unveiled the Sapphire Television Championship, which is, I guess, a one-time. I don't know if it's a one-time sponsorship, but it's the TV title with Mike Law. What do you think about that belt and Mike Law being presented with it at the next show?
I think there's too much leather on that belt.
Mm-hmm.
Or the plate is too small. It doesn't look as good as any of my belts. But I think it's kind of weird that you give a belt, a championship that's sponsored by a gentleman's club, and the guy that holds it is a child. I mean, how old is that guy? How old is Mike Law? He looks like he's 15 years old. Like, I don't even think he's old enough to get into the Sapphire Club. Does he need an adult?
He is, I think, 6'7", so he definitely meets the height requirement.
No way. No way. That guy's like 5 feet tall, and he's got lifts in. Come on.
He'll be in that number one contenders match you talked about earlier. It's going to have LSG, Anthony Gangone, Matt McIntosh, and Ryan Zane, who, once again, another guy you've defeated in Capital Wrestling.
He's really, really good. No, he's really not.
Did that surprise you to see him in the field with the rest of the guys?
Hey, you know what? Good for him. He was a Make-A-Wish kid. You gotta make him feel good. I don't know, maybe he's got some dirt on that. I'm not sure what's going on there. But hey, maybe the mouth breathers in the crowd need somebody to relate to.
Mm-hmm.
So they get Ryan Zane, who looks like an alternate for a lesbian summer tour.
The roast of Ryan Zane continues, hosted by Ken Dixon. I mean, that's an interesting field, though. You call it the clusterfuck, but Leon St. Giovanni's returning after he was in the triple threat in the first ever Capital Wrestling show.
Yeah.
What do you think about him and what he brings to the table?
You know what? I wouldn't mind. Getting on with him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's reverse that. I wouldn't mind sharing a ring with him as a combatant. None of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, he's on that next level. I love to work with guys who are on that next level. I like to compare myself, and it's even more satisfying when I can beat them.
Mm-hmm. And then you also have Anthony Gangone. He's coming off a win over Matt McIntosh at the last show. What do you think about what he also brings to the ring and potentially facing him in the future?
I don't know. I guess I can do some cool flips or something. I'll just wait till he's done and punch him in the mouth.
Mm-hmm. And then we also have Matt McIntosh. So I think, honestly, Matt McIntosh versus yourself, for me, that's a really pretty cool, a dream matchup in Capital Wrestling.
Yeah, I'm a fan of his. I'm a fan of the Orchard. All that, how you like them apple stuff.
He seems...
That's the thing I like about working in Capital Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good melting pot of guys that normally wouldn't get the name, but there's a lot of good potential matchups there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he seems like he's got an edge to him, like you do, like maybe a chip on the shoulder.
Oh yeah, it's good. When do you really find out where your competition is until you're backed up against the wall?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you got two guys who want to prove something. I mean, that makes for one hell of a match. Aside from a win over John Kermon, what would you like for Christmas?
Man, that's already there. That's already built in. Other than that, I don't know, man. What do you get the guy that can buy it, that has everything? The beautiful thing about being an adult and living in America and having a pretty kick-ass job is I can buy whatever I want.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point. That's a good point. Hard to get the guy who's got everything, anything really, but I guess you're always open to suggestions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I would like to see Portia Bond get rid of that terrible lipstick. I don't like having seizures.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm watching anime. It's so loud, and the combination of that terrible color and her high shrieking voice, I could live without that. So maybe I could ask that she not be able to ever cut a promo again or speak. Yeah, maybe she could make sandwiches or something. Yeah, that'd be great.
I think maybe you can have Matthew Ryan Shapiro file some sort of a injunction.
I like it. Barefoot in the kitchen. What do you tell the woman with two black guys, Sean?
What?
Nothing, because you've already told her twice.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not an advocate for domestic violence in any way, shape, or form. I just think that her lipstick is obscenely loud. That's all.
I agree there. The lipstick is quite loud. I can't argue that point. And before we touch on the Bastards group themselves, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Paqui Chip Deathmatch with Jeff Cannonball and Logan Black?
Cool. Guys are going to eat chips.
I mean, are you a fan of spicy foods yourself?
Yeah, I eat spicy foods, but I don't like stupid spicy foods.
Mm-hmm.
I like to taste the flavor. I'm not really just a big fan of burning. Yeah. So those guys are gonna eat chips in front of a crowd.
I guess when you put it like that, I mean it's one chip, and from what I hear, it's quite spicy.
Well, that sounds like a hot couple of farts. Is it like the fans putting the milk?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I just like I said, for me, I like if I was at home, and I wouldn't even do it then. But the fact that you're in front of people, I couldn't imagine doing that there.
So everybody's gonna laugh at you.
Yeah,
they're all gonna laugh at you
while you suffer.
Yeah, unless one of those guys shows up like Homer Simpson with the wax-coated throat. You a Simpsons fan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, when he showed up to the chili challenge. Yeah, unless somebody shows up with a wax-coated throat and does that shit Homer Simpson style. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Both those guys bring kind of equal, skill sets to the ring, and they're both dynamic.
Sure.
So I can't really pick a winner there, but I know neither guy wants to eat that chip.
So it's like a loser eats a chip match?
That's what it pretty much boils down to.
Gotcha. Okay, I thought they were just going to sit at a table and like...
Oh, no.
Like the roulette with a chip or something. I don't know.
No, they actually have a match, and then the loser has to eat the chip.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's...
Okay, that's more acceptable.
There's a little more cardio involved.
Sure. Hopefully nobody goes through a car window this time.
Yeah, that would... I mean, to his credit, John Kermon did, come out of that unscathed, which means you're going to have to probably do a lot to beat him, I would assume.
Hey, so check this out. John Kermon doesn't wear shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. He doesn't wear shoes.
So that's an advantage for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't wear shoes. He'll just break his toes. Stop on his feet.
Yeah, I don't know how guys do that. I mean, more power to them, but I could never do that.
I don't either, because wrestling locker rooms are dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in New Jersey.
And I've had plantar fasciitis before, and I could never do barefoot wrestling. I'd have to definitely have boots or something on.
Yeah. That's what a man would do.
Hey, it's what you do, so we can't really argue that.
That's right.
Now, I mean, you're with the group The Bastards, and a lot of times we'd seen you kind of do your own thing with the history of violence, but, you're with Paul Jourdain, the New York Wrecking Crew, and Matthew Ryan Shapiro. Is that something that's relatively new to you? I mean, you've also been with, Joe Keys and... I mean, with Joe Keys and Rob Block, but when it comes to Capital Wrestling, though, before The Bastards, you were kind of by yourself for a while.
Yeah, that's the way I prefer it. Yeah. I prefer to be by myself. I don't have to worry about anybody else but myself. When the thing starts happening, I know where to go. With other people, I have to wait on them. It's an interesting dichotomy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you think draws you to that group?
Well, I'm a fan of Paul Jourdain.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big son of a bitch. And he likes to throw people around like I do. Kindred spirits, you could say. I'm not really too familiar with the New York Wrecking Crew. I just noticed that, like myself, they just happen to have a lot of gold.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, only time will tell how we'll all get along and how that whole relationship will progress.
I mean, then you also have Matthew Ryan Shapiro, and he'll be stepping foot in the ring come December 29th. What do you think about him stepping foot?
I don't know, man. Maybe he should just stay on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those guys don't belong in the ring. But luckily he's got Paul Jourdain and Nick Drake and New York Wrecking Crew there to help him out. So he'll be alright.
Yeah, if you line yourself with the right people, you should be in a good place.
Yeah. I'm hoping I don't have to come out there and save his ass, but I'll be ready if I do.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, speaking of The Bastards, though, I mean, you guys have a brand new T-shirt out. I mean, what do you think of that T-shirt?
Do what?
The new Bastards T-shirt that's on Amazon?
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, okay. Anyway, it's pretty.
That's not a Ken Dixon licensed piece of merchandise.
I mean, when you want to talk about your own merchandise, I mean, that brand new shirt you have is pretty badass.
Yeah, I have really good artists at my disposal. They do great work for me. Yeah. I guess I'm gonna have to get a T-shirt on 29. Yeah, I didn't know about that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Of course. It's once again, Capital recently partnered with Amazon, and now they also have a Rotunda tee, which is pretty cool itself, and they got 5 different colors. But getting back to your T-shirt, what about where'd you get the inspiration for that, and how much of that was you thinking that up and then him putting it in paper?
To be honest, I mean that shirt features some of my greatest moments, and it really describes the history of violence. There's one, I'm choking out my former tag team partner with a bull rope. In the top left corner, I'm shoving somebody's face into an exposed buckle. You know what I mean? Those are all pivotal moments that define Ken Dixon and define the history of violence.
Mm-hmm.
And I had those pictures. I sent them to an artist, and like, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this. I
need a gritty design, you know, and he had some art that inspired what I saw, and then I saw some some Kill Bill posters, a lot of Tarantino art, where it's just kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it really jumped out at me, and I just felt like that would, you know, best capture the essence of what I believe the history of violence is. And he did a bang-up job.
And I mean, you look at it; it stays true to yourself. And sometimes some guys with merchandise, they try to do certain things and they try too much, and it just feels kind of cheesy. But yours definitely does not come across that way.
I have a couple that are like that with some of the gimmick infringement on the comic books and whatnot for the nerds. I'm not a comic book guy, but yeah, when I try to think about that kind of stuff, I try to think about, you know, how many wrestling fans actually wear those shirts out in public.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do people even want to admit they're wrestling fans in 2017? You know, that's why I try to really steer clear of the typical, you know, designs you'll find at Walmart with the WWE guys on them, where it's just a dude on the shirt and a catchphrase. I try to stray away from that. Excuse me. Yeah, just like my stuff to really stand out, and I feel that the artists that I've used have really helped me.
I've never understood those T-shirts at Walmart, like you said, where they're just a bunch, like especially the ones where it's like SmackDown or Raw and a group of guys. You know that guy's gonna be on another show in a few weeks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's all for the kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for me, man.
I know. I totally agree there. And you know, another thing about Capital Wrestling on the 29th is that it's going to be on Twitch, streaming live. What do you think about that? And you know, the history of violence getting more exposure.
I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not really up on how Twitch works. I see a lot of people are using it. It seems to be one of those next level platforms, and I'm looking forward to what that can do for Capital Wrestling and, more importantly, for myself.
Mm-hmm. You know, before we get out of here, I guess one last. I mean, you've mentioned the advantage over John Kermon with the but the fact that he's not wearing shoes. Any other advantages you have over him, and any other parting words for him before December 29th?
So look, Ken Dixon is a professional wrestler. I don't need to focus on grappling or submission. I don't need to run 8 miles a day. It's really cute that he has a plan. You know, it seems like he's working really hard. He's got his sweet, you know, over-the-top montage happening. But on December 29th, I'm going to punch him in the mouth. I'm going to step on his toes. And I'm going to beat him with an arm bar. That's it. There's not going to be any flashy UFC holds. I'm just going to break his arm with an arm bar. And I'm going to laugh at him. And I'm just going to leave. It's going to be really easy, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy.
Well,
and I hope that he's able to post some really, really motivational quotes the next day so he can, you know, help himself get over that.
I guess if that's what it floats some people's boat.
I guess.
You know, anything else you'd like to plug before we get out of here?
No, man. You want to find me on social media at @the_Ken Dixon on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well. You can just type my name in there. Send me your friend request. I'll make fun of you mercilessly. You're welcome.
And folks, if you haven't seen Ken Dixon on social media, you want to follow him because he's pretty funny.
It's just how I live my life, man. I call it how I see it.
Mostly because he's honest. He just play, like you said. You call it like you see it. He doesn't sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, it's probably cost me some opportunities in the long run, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we wouldn't have it any other way as Capital Wrestling fans and the faithful. But once again, Ken, we want to thank you for stopping by the podcast, taking time out of your busy schedule.
You're welcome. I guess I'll see everybody on the 29th, huh?
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you there on the 29th and your match for your title versus John Kermon. Yes, the John Kermon. The shoeless John Kermon.
The shoeless John Kermon.
That's going to be it should be his new name now.
It will be. It's a thing now.
But everyone, we'd like to thank you for listening to episode 41 of the Capital Wrestling Podcast. You can catch it here every Wednesday via YouTube. Just search Capital Wrestling, also SoundCloud.com/LTorsPodcast. Follow us on Twitter at Capital Wrestling without the G. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Neutron. And Ken, one last question before we go. What did you think about the creator wrestler that somebody did of you on 2K18?
Piss poor. Step their game up. You know, I saw the kid that won the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him. Yeah, and if he's at the show, I'm gonna have a couple words with him on why he didn't decide to make me instead. He let some other hambone make the weakest creative wrestler of Ken Dixon ever in the history of creative wrestlers. I could have made a better version of myself on WCW NWO Revenge.
Oh, burn.
A bunch of clowns. Isn't there like facial recognition on video games now?
There is, yes. There should be, at least.
Well, what the hell, man?
There's no excuses for not getting it right.
None.
But
now you got me all fired up.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. I apologize. But also, you get your tickets for December 29th. Go to brownpapertickets.com. Search Capital Wrestling Presents World War IV. You can go catch us every Monday night on Twitch at 7:05. Just twitch.tv/Capital Wrestling. We'll be streaming live on December 29th. Get your merchandise at whatamaneuver.net, prowrestlingtees.com, and amazon.com. And Groupon.com has a 2-for-20 deal for Capital Wrestling right now. And any other business inquiries, go to capitalwrestling@gmail.com. I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you here next week. The fallout from the show, and we're also going to talk to Bob Evans and Tim Hughes. Can't wait to see what those guys have in store for us. So we'll catch you guys here next week.